Hello, everybody. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Georgiana.
And this is Wholehearted Loving, where we teach you simple tools for self-love and compassion to grow the muscles you need to be with big feelings, triggers, and overwhelming sensations in your body.
Whether you have active challenges in your life or relationships, or whether you're just here to learn to be kinder to yourself, we pull out all the little things that make life feel better, the things that give you a sense of hope and direction.
So if you're too hard on yourself or on others,
if you want to feel real, deep connection in your life and relationships,
even if you want to reprogram your inner critic while you're sleeping,
this is a great place to be.
So welcome, and we hope this episode brings you just the tidbit you needed today.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today we're going to be walking you through some pressure points for self-connection. You can find self-reflection prompts for this episode and every episode on our Instagram at Wholehearted Loving, and you can learn more about us and how to practice with us live on our website at wholeheartedloving.com. And just a heads up that I had to phone in to record, which is why there is no video. Let's go ahead and get started with the pressure points.
Okay. So I like to explore and try different things out. And I see things here and there. I remember things like just growing up, my parents would teach me, like, press on this point, press on that point. They'd probably explain what it was good for, but I didn't really care. And I maybe did some of it. And then, I think we talked about this early on in our earlier episodes of I had a hard time embracing my Chinese culture and heritage. So any of that stuff that was taught to me when I was a kid, I don't think I really cared for it much, but I've been returning more to it. If you've listened to me, like a big part of my journey has been like looking at things I can reclaim, parts of myself that are lost that I want to reclaim. And so acupressure has been one of those fun ones to like dip back into and find my own way with it. And it combines nicely with this thing that I think you and I do on this podcast in our groups, which is about just being playful and exploratory about what feels good and what doesn't, and how our body lets us know that. So I'll walk you through one of the acupressure points that I've been enjoying lately. And then we'll say more about it after that. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So I'm going to start with my left hand. I just have a tendency to press on my left side, I think. You could start with the right side. We're going to do both sides, or we're going to walk you through both sides. If you just wanted to do one side, that's totally fine. But what we're going to do is start off with maybe a little like noticing your butt on the seat or your feet on the ground or your back on whatever you're laying on first, just to know where you are. And we're going to make a gentle fist with the left hand. And just turn it so that you see your fingers in the palm of your hand. And we're going to look for where your middle finger sort of lands when it's in this position, in this gentle fist position. And where the middle finger lands, we're just going to use the opposite thumb to add a little bit of pressure here. And you choose the amount of pressure that feels good. And then some people like to hold their hands up while they do this. You might want to rest your hands on your lap or on the table. And if you wanted, you could make little circular motions while you add pressure. It's really up to you. But what I've been enjoying is taking 2 cycles of 3 breaths. And so really it's 6. That's my basic math I can do. But the reason I present it as that, 2 cycles of 3, is I really love just doing things in 3s, because 3 of anything is pretty quick. And it allows me to add another set of 3 if I want to, but I also don't have to. And with this practice, I just found 6 breaths is a nice amount of time for me, right? So you choose. And you can have your eyes open or closed as you do this. Maybe you do 3 breaths with eyes open, 3 with eyes closed. It's really up to you. I notice generally in the beginning, I like to make circular motions, but as I hang here and connect to my breath, I like to just hold. So you discover what feels good for you. And then when you feel ready, just letting the hands rest. Maybe shake them out if you need to. One thing I like to do sometimes after I do a connection practice, is like look around and notice the quality of my seeing. And what I mean by that is like, I notice sometimes I see more things. Some things are a little bit more vivid. Some things make me happier to look at. Right? So just notice if maybe it doesn't change the quality of your seeing. It could. And then when you feel ready, and if you want to, just changing hands. So again, doing the same thing with your other hand, making that gentle fist, just so that you have an idea of where this point is. And even in holding pressure on this point, there's different ways to position your hands so that it's the most comfortable for you. So if it's not comfortable, try moving things around. And I like to hang out here again for 2 sets of 3 breaths.
So we're not meant to be, I always thought pressure points, there's supposed to be a discomfort.
That's not how I work with them. I don't know. There must be many different ways.
What a surprise. You're looking for the nice, comfortable way. And I'm like, where does it hurt?
Yeah, I'm not looking to create discomfort. If there is discomfort, I might notice what degree feels okay to be with, and what might I need to tweak to find that sweet spot. Or if it's too uncomfortable, I might realize this is not the thing for me right now. Right. Or if it's really uncomfortable to put any pressure, I might not put any pressure, and I just might add a little bit of touch. Or if I don't want to do that, I might just visualize pressure there, or visualize touch there, or visualize light there. Right.
I wonder if I'm making this up entirely, or if you've heard this before, that like when you get the spot, you'll know because it'll be particularly...
Yes. I've heard that before. I've never heard my parents describe it in that way. Not that they're like the, experts on these things, but just to present it as like, there's people out there who are not seeking discomfort in a practice like this, right? And definitely sometimes you can land on a spot that something shows up. I've also heard from people, which is really neat, where they're like, immediately when I press that spot, I feel good. I feel something happening. That might happen, but I don't think we're doing it wrong if it doesn't happen. And I also don't think you're doing it wrong if you don't notice any particular difference afterwards. Right? This is just about trying something, trying to connect to your body in a way that's new, that you're deeming not harmful, right? It's okay to try, and seeing how your body responds to it. And for me, I notice eyes feel a little sort of droopier, not in a checked out way, but in a pleasant way, a softer way. I feel a little bit, I don't know, I can't quite describe it, but not worse. And right now we're doing it, like I'm doing it in the comfort of my home, sort of in a chill moment. But earlier I was doing this sort of as I was going from my morning of dropping my kids off, and then I had a few extra minutes in the car before I walked into the gym and had a class that I needed to be on time for. And I was like, oh, I have a few minutes in the car. Why don't I just sit with that pressure point and see how it feels? And I'm not doing it because I'm like, oh, I feel so good when I press on that point. Like, this is still relatively newish for me, this point. So I was doing it more from a place of curiosity. Like, I wonder how my body's going to feel if I hang out on this point for a couple breaths. And after, I'm like, oh, feels sort of nice. And then so I come up here and I was facilitating, one of our priming calls earlier today. And I was like, oh, let's share it with these people, see what they think, what they notice. And they're like, oh, that was really nice. I like that. Great. And I got to do it again. So that was the second time I did it today. And then now this is my third time. And each time I think it helps your body wire something new up. Right? So each time I'm like, oh, I felt a little bit something more that was pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're setting your intention for a moment, discovering something in your connection with your body. And you're being with that connection for a moment and noticing how it feels in that moment, which might be different than the next moment or the previous moment. And all of that accrues these self-connection moments.
Yes, and it's nice also to notice, like, we're not sharing these so that you feel better. So I'm just as happy to hear that you pressed on this acupressure point and it felt horrible. Because really what matters to me is that you notice what feels good, what doesn't, what feels neutral. And you have more experience listening to your body and how your body lets you know those things. And that you become a little bit more practiced in, if your body's screaming at you that that's horrible, that you do something more pleasant for your body instead of pushing through, or instead of, well, they told me to do this. They know what they're doing. So something must be wrong with me if it hurts, or I must be doing something wrong. Right? And earlier when I was sharing this on our group call, I love when people are this honest. They said, well, let me tell you what was happening for me. Spent the beginning time wondering, am I doing this right? And trying to figure out, am I pressing the right spot? Am I pressing hard enough? Is this the wrong spot? And then I decided just to let myself, try something. Why not just try something and see how it feels? And then actually all of a sudden I noticed I settled a little bit more. Right? That's why we want to share these things with you, for you to become more aware of what your patterns, what your mind patterns are, what your pushing through patterns are like, what your let's pretend it doesn't bother me patterns are like, what your patterns of creating more good feeling things for yourself is like. And so if you discovered, I don't actually like that, and so I chose to do something else, that's great. That's the whole point, right? Or you notice, I didn't particularly love it, but I'm still open to trying it a little bit more or a little more frequently to see if that changes. And if it changes, great. And if it doesn't, great. And it doesn't mean something's wrong with me if it doesn't get better, right? We talked a little bit today on that call, and it's relevant to this, of people noticing that what feels good for one person might not feel good for somebody else. And I think a big part of trauma healing, growing, our connection to self-acceptance, is giving ourselves permission to like different things that other people like, and to not like things that other people like, right? And to not feel like our only way of staying in connection with people is to hate the same things and like the same things. And if we notice we're different, that must mean either something's terribly wrong with us or terribly wrong with them.
Yeah, to have this experience and realize that it doesn't mean anything other than we have different experiences, right? If I wonder if you're interested in, and how easy it would be for you to extrapolate all of what you just said onto life and relationships. It's all of these skills that you've just described and these moments of practicing different ways with your body have an incredible impact on what you bring and what you get out of communication and relationship and, confidence, all of that.
Well, let me see. Like I'm sure I have a very current event I could probably bring in. Yeah. So recently had a moment with my partner where I could tell my old stuff was getting stirred up, old story, right? But I was able to straddle both worlds a little bit of like a little caught up in an old story and a little bit here to know I was caught up in an old story. And it came time to like reconnect. And I'm not very good at hiding how I feel. So if I walk into a room and I'm not happy or my feelings have been hurt, like you can tell. And so I think I walked into the room and I'm sure it was apparent in some way. But I also could lean into the part of me that wanted connection. Like I didn't go into full old pattern of withdrawing completely. And then got into bed and like aware enough that I don't want to pretend like nothing's bothering me because that just wouldn't feel good. And I'm not very good at it. But laying there thinking in my mind, why aren't you saying something about the other person? Like I'm making this judgment about the other person. Why aren't you saying something?
That
can't
he
you
should
tell
be
I'm
saying something, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And like, can't you tell I'm upset?
Yeah.
And recognizing that. And then noticing, well, it doesn't feel good to just lay here and stew and be waiting for him to say something. When what that means for me is I want some connection here. But I also felt like I wasn't ready enough, regulated enough to like fully turn toward, metaphorically speaking, energetically speaking, and be really clear and vocal about what I needed. I don't even think I knew what I needed exactly. But I knew that my impulse to turn away and look away, which I did at some moments, was not the one that I wanted to lead the show. And so I was like, ugh, I got to turn my head toward him. And that won't feel necessarily good right away. It will feel uncomfortable, but I think I'll have better odds that if I do that, something better is on the other side.
Just the simple, my pattern is to turn away. If I physically turn my head towards this person, I know I'm breaking a pattern and something new will happen next.
Yes. Yes.
all of what you just described was inside of what in the past would have been maybe a vague feeling of annoyance that you might have described as whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, totally. Whatever, it's fine. I totally know. I can live in that energy for hours and weeks and days and years. But now I notice I live in that energy for a couple minutes and it feels really yucky. Like I don't want to hang out there. Whereas that was a total norm before.
Yeah.
And I want to say I did many rounds of looking away and looking back towards. Like it wasn't that I noticed I was looking away and so I did the opposite and looked towards him, and then we stayed and got into this beautiful connection moment and stayed there together. It wasn't like that at all. It was, I can tell I'm trying to withdraw because my feelings have been hurt and I don't quite know how to articulate what I need or anything. And I know that I don't want to withdraw so much that I leave the room. I want to be in the room. I want to be next to each other, but I can't quite look at you yet. So I need to look away. And I thought, well, that's really not going to help me if I stay looking away the whole night. Like, it's not going to lead to a better feeling, right? So I was like, okay, let's do something different. So let me look towards. I look towards and I'm like, it's a combination of things. It's a, I love you. My feelings are hurt. It's too vulnerable to be seen by you. And so I'm going to look away again.
Yeah.
Right. And a little part of, I'm not ready to not feel mad yet.
Yeah. You got a stupid face right now.
And so I need to turn away again.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sitting there wondering what are all the reasons I'm turning away. I'm just noticing what my body's doing and how it's feeling. And then again, I'm like, okay, well, I can't stare out the window the whole night. Like, that's not going to lead to a good feeling thing. Like, ultimately, I want to feel connected.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't feel quite ready to fully connect yet. And I also know I don't want to completely withdraw. So let me try again. And I turn again towards, and maybe this time it lasts a millisecond longer. And it goes back and forth like this for a while, to where at some point I think I said, why do you have to look so good?
Oh.
Right. And so like there, and like a little laugh, and then still a turn away, which makes me know, oh, something's shifting in my nervous system.
Yeah.
Right? It's not as quick as I can walk in the room from having my feelings hurt and address it right away, or like reach out for connection right away and warmly receive. Like, I'm sure if I came into the room and said whatever I needed to say about what was bothering me and reached out for connection, I would have gotten it. I don't have any doubt I would have gotten it. But the thing is, I wasn't ready for that. Like, I didn't know how to ask for that. I was still in a bit of like my own stuff.
Yeah. And pretending doesn't quite work, right? The energetics are not there. So this is entirely the point of doing all these little tiny nothing burger exercises, like touching part of your hand consciously with some intention to self-connect, is that when you're practicing subtlety and nuance of experience with yourself, you're then able to better be with your own subtlety and nuance in heightened moments, where you also need to learn how to be with the subtlety and nuance of the other person, of your relationship with the other person, of the moment that you're in right then, and to be able to connect with you and all of that at the same time. It just takes these little tiny bits of practice when you're not in a heightened nervous system state.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it was my ability to notice nuance that helped me shift the pattern. Right. And like that moment where I looked at him like, why do you have to look so nice? And I could laugh about it. I think we both laughed about it maybe. But also in that moment, to feel that moment feels different than the moment before. There's a little bit more lightness and openness here in this moment. And then to notice, oh, this feels sort of nice. I want more of this feeling. Like, let's not get cold and turn all the way back to that rigid withdrawal again. Right? Even if you're not ready for full on warmth of connection and presence with each other. Oh, this felt a little nicer though. Like we're inching towards, millimetering towards something that feels more connected and ultimately what I want.
Yeah. Now, I want to have a caveat here, because you're a very sweet little nugget. And my sense of you versus me, not that it's a competition, is that you would be a lot closer to those sweet thoughts, right? So it would never occur to me, like, well, you were able to say, why do you got to look so good? And then have a laugh. I might be like, you're looking, you stupid face right now. Your face is pretty stupid. And maybe I'd be able to be soft there. But I think there'd be a lot of nastier inner dialogue happening for me that would make cold really the pleasant alternative, you know? So I want us to create some space and maybe suggestions also for people who are still harboring so much hurt themselves that they can't get to the connection point.
Well, I'd like to say maybe on the outside I look like a sweet nugget. But on the inside, my mind operates as anything but sometimes. So, but what I've done is I've gotten better and better at recognizing my mind.
Yeah.
And recognizing that I am not little sweet nugget right now. And just being with it and not making it wrong, but also not making that I need to let that part of me lead completely.
Yeah.
Right. This is related and maybe could create a tangent, but I remember one time hearing like, it's important to allow ourselves to speak for those not sweet nugget parts of ourselves and practice not speaking from them.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or having awareness of when am I speaking from that mean part and when am I speaking for the mean part?
Yeah.
And it's like subtle, but very different. And that can be another episode. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the ability to press on this pressure point and hang out here for 3 breaths, and maybe in the beginning it's just 1 breath, is my ability to grow the pause. To just be with, I feel my thumb on this pressure point. I feel my arm resting on my knee. Right? I feel my butt on the seat. That's already 3 moments. I didn't have access to those moments before because I didn't practice this stuff. I was just in the moment and reactive and in fight energy or withdrawal all the time, right? Or numbed out. So my ability to feel the pressure point and look out the window and see a really fluffy cloud right now helps me in that moment recognize I'm in that mean space right now. My mind is going to a dark place thinking mean thoughts about you right now. And I don't have to speak from that place right now. Right? I could focus on something different just for a moment so that this passes a little bit. But I wasn't able to do that before. So I would speak from that place or I try to shut it all down and try to pretend like things are fine.
Yeah. I think you've also created such a beautiful landing pad for challenging emotions that you're welcoming and self-compassionate of all your sides. So it makes it easier to not speak from that place because you can recognize that it's a place, it's not a destination.
Mm-hmm. I think what's helped me also is this, and we've talked about, I think, Dragon and the Treasure before, but treasure being like, what is ultimately what you want? Like my ability to connect ultimately, I want to feel connected with you tonight before we fall asleep.
Mm.
My ability to connect to that helps me not speak from that really mean part.
Mm-hmm.
But if that is nowhere in sight for me, that ultimately I want to fall asleep feeling in connection with you tonight, then it's a lot easier to speak from that mean place.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's such a clear point to get to. Like that simple sentence, I want to feel connected with you, is not, there's no barrier of volatile emotional content blocking you from that, you know? I think in the past, I would have just wanted the other person to make me feel better. It's not that I would have wanted to be in connection. I don't know if I could even identify that that's what it was. I just wanted to feel better, and they were the obstacle, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, even if we use that, because I think we've all been there, if I ultimately want you to make me feel better, it's probably not going to happen if I start screaming at you. Right? So even though like we're not at that level of like, oh, ultimately I just want peace and unity and connection with you, and as we drift off beautifully into sleep, like it could be, I want you to make me feel better.
Yeah.
But if we start to, like, I'm like, if we just pay attention to human psychology, we don't have to be experts at it. Generally speaking, you're probably not going to get that if you lose your mind and like scream and yell at someone.
But we are too emotional for psychology, Georgiana. I've many times screamed at people wanting them to make me feel better. Didn't work.
It didn't work, right? And like it's okay to have that part of us driving the bus, right? But like, can you catch what's happening? Can you report what's happening? Can you come back and return and repair, right? Like, even to be able to say, I really just want to yell mean things at you right now.
Yeah.
When all I want is for you to make me feel better. Like, that is already so much more helpful than I'm just going to scream at you and then hold on to this expectation you make me feel better, and then be internally and externally so pissed at you that you're not making me feel better. Like, I've done this many times already. It doesn't end with anything that feels sustainably better.
So find that pressure point in your hand. Notice how life changes.
Yeah, everything begins to change, and it takes practice, and it's possible.
Yeah. Will you walk us through a couple other pressure points to close?
Yeah, I like this one. So this one is taking your hand and running it along, finding your collarbone, and then running it sort of on the bottom side of your collarbone, and following the collarbone outwards towards your shoulder. And like, sometimes you got to feel around for a bit, like, especially when this stuff is new to you. It's still new to me. And when you trace under your collarbone, you're going to reach a point towards your shoulder where it can't move anymore because your shoulder is there. I like to, like, you can just do this with one side if you want. And again, I like to use 2 fingers. You could use 1 probably. And you could just offer some touch, offer a little bit of pressure, or I like to make circular motions. And you can stay with one side, but what I like to do is actually find that opposite spot on the other side at the same time. So my arms are sort of crossed in front of my body. And then I just hang here for some breaths. And again, I told you I like 6, so like two sets of 3, but you don't have to be. In the beginning, it might just be 1. Or it might just be 1 set of 3. Or it could be many more sets of 3. It could, again, be with your eyes open or closed. And with this practice, I notice it feels different if I let my thumbs push against each other. It also feels different if I let my hands land on my body, land closer. So this is another one. But there's like, even if you don't know exact pressure points, it's not about knowing it. You could look it up. But it's just noticing, where does it feel decent or pleasant to bring some touch. Right? And like, what's funny is, I think I've told this story, but like, Shay and Ben were babysitting my kids one day a couple years ago. And I walked in the house when I was coming back, and they were watching a movie. They're watching a Disney movie, all like on the projector. And I saw my kid with this weighted sandbag. I don't know, it was like 5 pounds, 10 pounds. I don't know what it was, 5? I don't know. Sitting on his shoulder. That's not typically what you use a little sandbag for. Like, I think it was like a workout little sandbag. But it was on his shoulder. And I sort of chuckled to myself because I know this about this kid. he will just do things that feel nice for his body. I don't think he knows exactly why. I don't think, like, it's not all well thought out. He just discovers, and he's like, oh, that feels nice. He just lets it sit there. And I remembered about this kid, he likes deep pressure. Deep pressure helps him feel better. And so whether you're actively using a pressure point that, you know exists, all the science behind it, and it should help because of this meridian and that's happening energetically, or you're like, I just decided to throw a sandbag on my shoulder and see how it felt, and it felt sort of good. Yeah. Or I had it on my lap and then I threw it on my shoulder and then I had it in my hand and the shoulder felt the best. Like, that's what this is about.
Yeah, totally. Trust the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. You're welcome.
All right. That's it for this week?
I think so. Find ways to get into clearer communication with your body about what feels nice, not nice, neutral. Mm-hmm.
Dig it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys then next week. Please do like, follow, and subscribe. And if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share with somebody that you care about. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.